Welcome everyone to another episode of Customer Success Talks, Real Challenges, Experts Advice. I'm so happy because each time we record an episode, it's a new topic, it's a new guest, it's always a new conversation aiming to help you excel in your customer success career. And today is not going to be the exception. We have an amazing guest in the house. And today we're going to talk about mastering your journey, key strategies for career ownership. Ownership, that's the keyword, and that's where we're going to focus on today. But before we introduce our guest today, Nav, we finally have you back, my friend. Where have you been?
I've actually had a chance to be a tourist in the city again because my brother-in-law is visiting from Canada. So I do all the
Right.
touristy stuff all over again, which is always nice. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to be back. And I'm very excited about the topic today because it's something that I hold dear to my heart as well, and something that I followed through my career. So it's really nice to see a like-minded person joining us today. So yeah, super excited. How have you
Yeah.
been, Baron?
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited, but it's amazing how you are a husband, a dad, a director of customer success, host of the podcast, and now tourist guy.
I'm not a very good tourist guide. I
That
just I
comes with
just
the job.
drive. Yeah. I'm just a driver.
All right, and now a driver. Okay. We have with us Marija Skobe-Pilley. She is a multi-talent individual who has gone from being a musician to a customer success leader. And this is interesting because we have had in the past a guest who was in the US Navy and now is a customer success manager, which means that this is open for everyone who is out there and really want to be a customer success manager or leader or anything related to customer success. But let's continue because there's more from Maria. She grew her career from customer success manager to a director of customer success in 4 years, with the most recent role of leading the EMEA customer success team at ClipCup. But she's also the founder of Women in Customer Success, a network that focuses on promoting and showcasing women in the industry, which is amazing, Maria. With But there's more. There's more and there's more because she's also named the top 100 customer success strategy for 3 years in a row. And her most recent venture is the Functional SaaS, a boutique consultancy that provides customer success leadership for early startup companies. Maria, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much for your time. And are you ready to have fun?
I am ready. Thank you so much, Byron, and Nav for having me. And this is, wow, my gosh, such a nice introduction. Thank you for that. If I can add, I could also put myself in the category of as Nav. I'm a driver as well. I am doing so many miles every day with my kids for school. You know how it is when you're mom and activities, and I just feel like taxi driver majority of my time sometimes, and I'm enjoying it. Now, I don't know how was it for you, but it comes with the job of being a parent and having family and all of those other things that come together. So yeah, just to
Absolutely.
add that.
Wow.
I'm actually curious to know, Maria, as a musician, can we talk a little bit more about that? What kind of musician were you? What do you play?
So I studied music. I started playing piano and violin when I was 6 years old. It was like normal in my family, and I never liked it. I never wanted to practice, but I needed to do my exams. And then when I was a teenager, just randomly I decided I want to do it, much more. And then I was practicing really a lot. I was playing organ and piano at that point, and I went to audition for the music academy when I was 17, before I graduated from high school. And I was accepted as a talent, which was interesting because they would typically accept people who graduated from high school firstly, being at least 18 years old. So yeah, I just got an amazing opportunity to study music then. If I hadn't done it then, I would probably never do it. I would go and study like journalism, medicine, or anything else that I was interested in. So that was just awesome. I was really happy to explore so many things about the music, from playing to, conducting choirs, to do lots of musical cultures, some production. So just very rounded musical education. So yeah, that was yeah, that was a big part of my life, doing lots of
That's amazing.
concerts and practicing for hours and hours.
That is very cool.
It is indeed. Now, do you play any instrument?
I used to play the violin. Kind of got
Cool.
into it for a while. Yeah. So yeah, I remember when I was chosen to be first violinist in the orchestra at school, and it was such a proud day for me.
It's the first violinist, like it's the
Yeah.
one that you shake hands with the
One, yeah.
conductor. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Let's go from music into women in customer success, Maria. I'm curious because we're both in this journey, and I'm wondering how everything started. Like, what made you actually start women in customer success into where you are right now, which is a big brand, and I guess it's your baby, and it's growing a lot. So tell me how everything started. How has been this journey for you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It is my crying baby. I was the first time CSM, and I really wanted a role of a CSM because before that I discovered the world of customer success maybe 2 years before and wanted to enter that industry. And then as I became a CSM, I just realized, well, now I have to just learn a lot from everywhere. And even before that in my life, I was always involved with different women's network. You know, you have it in every single company, you have it in the communities. That part was very familiar with me, doing women's ministries, all sorts of women-related activities. And then when I came to customer success and I was absorbing things online from webinars, from podcasts, articles, everything else, I went to a conference where there was presented the state of customer success in Europe. And there was one graph presented by Siuna Betmore, amazing leader. And the graph showed how if 60% of women and 40% of men enter industry as a CSM, so many more women are CSM on a managerial level, that balance comes to 50-50. And it was like, oh, wow, we have first time 50-50 balance in SaaS. But then everything beyond, from director, VP, and everything higher positions, showed that 70% of men have those roles and only 30% women. So that was the slide that basically left everybody speechless in the audience. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happens with all of those women that start the profession and never manage to go up in leadership position? So that didn't, it just made me think, and didn't give me peace. And a few months after, I was just pondering about it. And then I just decided, you know what, there could be so many reasons for that, for sure. Maybe one of the reasons is also that women don't have enough role models at the top or in their organizations to look up to and to know how is it, being in those leadership roles. And also seeing around me many manuals. So when you have a panel or a webinar and there are so many men, I was thinking, really? Is that all what we can do? Where are all the women? And it just somehow got to me that, okay, let's create a space where we can just really bring in women and showcase how amazing they are. What are they doing? What are their career paths? And just provide, number one, inspiration for others. So other women can learn from them and have them as role models, really thinking, I can do that if they can do it. And that's how the podcast really started. But what's interesting, the podcast started and then somehow the whole movement started. Soon after, there are so many other communities for women in CSM started coming out, loads of different meetups. It was just somehow like the ball kept on rolling, which was really awesome. And then again, naturally, around the podcast, the whole community appeared. And then we started the Slack channel, and there were so many conversations that also pointed out to, this is great, it's good to have inspiration and learning, but we need some more as well. So last year I started kind of part of the whole brand as a Women in Customer Success Power Up, which was really focused on mentoring women. And this is now coming to a next level this year. So we have podcast on one hand and Power Up, which is now completely like career related hub where women can come in, they can choose their mentors, They can choose different mentors after, every mentoring program that they complete. They can have access to master classes, to CS roundtables, to simply network and connect online with like-minded women all around the world. So now this is going into I call it real community, membership focus, where women can really grow together in their careers with resources. Yeah, thanks for the question. It was like long answer. Sorry, I kind of feel it's been a history now. It's 4 years of making to give you in a minute.
Maria, it has been a journey, and it has been a
is.
journey with an impact, and you're inspiring, creating a movement, and also giving spotlight. And I understand this because although it's different topics, it's related in the way that we want to inspire and spotlight. I want to do the same with Latin America. I want to have the Latin America has a voice as well. That's my goal. And seeing you doing all of this, because it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of going over the emotions as well. Now you have 102 episodes. You have spoken with 102 amazing women in customer success. I'm pretty sure more that are not even recorded, and that happens to me. So this is amazing. I'm really, really happy to see all of this growth. And yeah, this has been amazing.
Thank you. I do hope you will do more even in Latin America, because it's needed, and I will keep watching you do that. Just to say on this, yes, you said 100 or so episodes. That just gave me 100 mentors that I could talk to. And I'm sure every time you speak with a guest, you learn something and you build that relationship. And as we just mentioned recently, there was the customer conference in London. I recommended, I think around 10 people, mostly women, to be on the stage, which was mostly from my podcast, people that I knew.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm super happy that now I have the opportunity to do it. And I know you will do the same in Latin America as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Nav, were you going to say something, or I interrupted you?
That's right. I was just going to say, out of the last 5 or 6 customer success roles that I've had, I think 4 of them I've had female leaders, and those were the teams that were probably the highest performing that I have ever been part of. So, it goes to show, there needs to be a lot more leadership, for women in customer success and all over, but especially in customer success.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
And this is part of the topic, actually, because we're talking about mastering your journey, key strategies for career ownership. And for anyone to grow in anything, we need a lot of ownership. We need to be proactive. We need to self-reflect a little bit and see where we're going to see ourselves in the future. Of course, leadership helps, but you need to personally do that step in front. And we're going to start with the basics. What are the career opportunities for customer success managers in the market right now? It's not only customer success manager and director of customer success. There's more, actually.
Absolutely. There is so much more. And even when we think about market and everything that was happening last year or two, we can think maybe market is not the greatest yet. It will pick up, it will be fine, but there are opportunities for more specialized roles. So thinking beyond customer success manager title. We've known that for some time already. Don't go only for CSM, senior CSM, enterprise CSM role. Go also for roles that don't have CSM in its title, that are very related. So I mean, mostly post-sales roles. Sometimes it is onboarding roles. Depends on the team. It's not always services. Sometimes it's really part of customer success team where you are just responsible for activation and onboarding customers. And that's so important. So, if those are skill set that somebody has, more of a project manager, go for that. So onboarding part. Then more and more we see loads of enablement and education roles. So we can have team enablement in terms of customer success enablement, or some company has it as like go-to-market enablement, even services enablement. Very often it's even customer experience enablement. meaning enabling internal teams, sorting out their processes, making sure that teams are aware what is happening, what are the skills that they have to learn. So really focusing internally on people. Then we also have customer enablement, which is now the whole new department sometimes in some organizations. And that's such a creative department, I believe, because it is all about creating different programs for customers to learn better your tool, to learn more of the product, but also the best practices of how to use the tool and how to even become, thought leader in their industry. So we are going from basically onboarding all the way to education. And then again, some teams have more specialized roles for renewals. Most recently, again, there is no harm for even strategic CSMs who used to work with, a few strategic accounts to go and expand their knowledge in renewals. So there are just so many different options at the moment. Of course, even to mention digital success or scale success.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many. And I can say in my previous company, we had so many changes within the teams every few months because the strategy was changing. It was such a huge hyper growth that our CSMs, who until yesterday were doing with strategic accounts somewhere else, they needed to become scale CSMs or pool CSMs. So again, it was all about managing them through the change and trying to tell them that this is good for career, just having so much more exposure to different types of roles. So the roles are many. I can also say how, with one of my team members, we created a whole new role of global enablement manager for customer success. It didn't exist, but you see there is a need, and it's about, creating business case. So I would encourage CSMs to think wider from CS roles only, especially because I do believe we went maybe too much into silo, celebrating all of that customer success. We are customer success, that's all great, but that doesn't mean that the roles around us are not equally important, and we need to work within the ecosystem. So yeah, just expand those horizons to similar or sister roles. So that's when it comes to roles within the organization. But then I would encourage customer success, enthusiasts to also think outside of their organizations and start creating content if they don't do already, something what we all are doing right now. There is lots of opportunities to become thought leaders, do your own little side hustle. Doesn't even have to be always customer success related. As we said, there are so many related ways to put yourself out there. But I can see that being a big part of the future as well, as we are talking more and more about, portfolio careers, people working remotely, people working on projects or in companies. There are so many options in the next few years. I think that maybe not half, but like a really good chunk of people will be working only as, being self-employed, working on projects that they are passionate about. And I think that that's great. Those are great opportunities that we got since the pandemic and since, going remotely more. So yeah, go for so many different roles, expand your horizons, and think of doing something by yourself on side, something you're passionate about, and start creating your own portfolio careers in a few years' time. Why not, if that's what you like?
That is probably the most detailed and comprehensive list of different CS jobs that I've ever heard in my life, which was absolutely on point and absolutely amazing. It's actually something that we've been working on in my team as well. And there's been movement across. So we have onboarding split from CSMs who, are focused on renewals, and we've had people move from the onboarding team to the CSM team. We've seen an opportunity for a global CS ops role. So we're building the business case for that. There's so many different ways of looking at how to support this overall sort of post-sale structure. And I think you're absolutely right. People think career progression is CSA to CSM to senior CSM to strategic CSM, and then that's it, right? Or then you become a manager and then director and VP. And there's so many other ways you can go. And the other day when we had one of the onboarders move into CSM, we still call it a promotion because it's career progression. It's like, even though they're like, it's not like it's a higher level or anything. It's such an important thing to see that progression from, one aspect of the customer journey into another aspect of the customer journey. And I think, I'm always happy to see that kind of movement as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think, I mean, that's where people can really realize their potential and their skills. And let me be honest, yes, I wanted to go into leadership role and I went for it, but it's not for everybody. And it is very, very, very different being an individual contributor or leader. Yeah. Yes. And it's people like, that's not the only role. And sometimes it can be really bad for somebody to think that's the only way up. Yeah. Oh no. And I've
had that conversation so many times where I'm like, everything you love about your job, that when we talk about like the passion you bring into like, I love talking to clients, all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you won't get to do any of that when you're a leader.
Absolutely. You'll be bored. You'll be bored with so many other things.
The only time you get to talk to customers when they're escalating.
Yes. Like, do you really want that?
So true. Cool. I think it's time to jump into the challenges. So let's jump into challenge number 1. So our challenge number 1 today is career ownership. So, obviously we talked about all the different ways that CSMs, or the customer success journey can go. And, one of the more important things, and, I think you highlighted very much in your last piece is, it's important for CSMs to, successfully take control of their career trajectories. And it's obviously, about trying to identify the opportunities and being transparent with the communication with their managers so that the managers know what to look out for you, and also proactively starting to learn. But it sounds easy and straightforward, but obviously, as we all know, and having seen a lot of CSMs in these situations, it can be a bit of a challenge. So, Marija, the question I have for you is, what are some of the most effective strategies for CSMs to actually take ownership of their career paths?
Well, speaking about the ownership, for me, 2 things come to mind immediately. Just being on a driver's seat of your own career, and in a way, just being the boss of your career. And I know now that sounds cheesy, but I need to say, I didn't know that when I started my career. I even left one company because I never expressed, or I never voiced where did I want to go next. And the company didn't have, that much growth, that there would be opportunities, but I just left for a better role without giving them the opportunity to give me something different when I realized that I wanted to grow. So it took me time to learn how to be the boss of your career, because you're never thought about it. And I genuinely believe when I started, my manager should tell me, what is next for me? What am I good at? What I should do next? What is potential promotion path? So my advice is really, firstly, the mindset. Because of career performances in the organization, very often people think that yes, somebody else should say when is the time to go to a new role, when is the time to get promoted. But I think that's really not the case, because job is a job. When you're on a job, let's say you're on a CSM job, you're doing the job, that's fine. But career is a personal thing, and no one else can actually tell you what is your career, because that depends on individuals' values and your own strengths and the ways you want to work, the location you want to work. So there are so many parts of career that person can only decide for themselves. So that's what I mean by, being a boss of your career, regardless of what is your current job and what are the possibilities in that job. Think about career much wider, of what is it that you want to do and why and how. As I already mentioned in my example, like not voicing your aspirations is wrong. So, there's no harm in doing it. And I have seen as a leader, now you've probably seen that as well with your teams. It is so much easier when people tell you what they want to do, because then
50% of the job, I guess,
exactly. Right? You see a project and you just say, okay, you're going there, you take that project, that's something in line with what you want to do next. Or you can just really match them with so many different opportunities when you know where they want to go. If they never say, how on earth can you tell Are you more interested in, I don't know, enabling customers or doing renewals or doing ops? Like you can't. So having those conversations are really important. And then what I would say, challenges are also the business acumens or skills, but that can be learned. If somebody wants to go for a role that requires much more upskilling, like it's just the mindset. Yes, ask for it, ask for being exposed to, you know, that part of the role through different projects, and you can pick up the skills. And there are always trainings to pick up the skill, which is much easier than pick up the mindset. That's kind of a behavior. So yeah, obviously there are so many challenges with the market as well, but I think as long as you think of your career as that is something your personal, you figure out what are at least your strengths and interests, and start voicing it out there, start advocating for that, what you want with your manager, their manager, there will be a way to move you to different parts. And then managers are there to help you support in that journey. They're not there to, you know, do everything for you, but you can ask for advice of what do they think you should be doing in terms of training, etc. But yes, career is a very personal thing.
It's actually, and I've seen this happen a few times in my career, where you discuss this, you have this conversation with an individual contributor, and they voice what they want to do, and then you give them the opportunity, and they just don't, go for it.
Yes.
And that's just like it blows my mind. Like, we had this conversation, I understood what you want, I saw an opportunity for you, and you just have to work, hard for a little bit to get there. But it's almost like, no, like, yeah, we talked about it, and then I figured, well, to do my job, and you just give it to me. It's like that's not how it works. Like, you have to really, like, you have to give yourself like that vision, and you have to really drive yourself towards it. Like, I can't pick you up and put you there. You have to get in the car and drive yourself.
That's so true. And also, you reminded me, it's not always about what you want to do next. It's really on your current role. You should hopefully want to be better now than you were a year ago, and pick up new skills for your own role, or ask for maybe different type of customers with your own role, even without any new title. Like, you can develop within your role so much as well without even thinking beyond it. And that's something that managers will always welcome as well, because no one wants to work with people who are only doing the same things in the same way.
Yeah. Or even look for, like, opportunities for improving processes, and like trying to look at all of the different ways you can bring value to the table, as opposed to just sort of like your 9-to-5 job. And I like, and I don't like saying it in a way where, like, everyone feels like they need to do 60 hours a week to feel like they're seen and heard. But it's looking at what your job is, where you want to go, and then opening, like, or like making that circle bigger, or at least intersect with what you're wanting to do, and then you start to find yourself moving into that role.
I've seen that even in my previous role, and it's so interesting. Like, you always have people who come with ideas and solutions and saying, okay, this is what I noticed, this may not work in the process, here is what I think we can do next. Few months after, those people are promoted because they've been already doing some different role. Then you do have people who are just so fine with their 9-to-5, not even up to 5:15. I mean, doesn't matter. I'm joking. It's not about the time, but people who would never do anything beyond, and that's okay. You don't have to have always A players.
People are happy with that, yeah.
Yeah, if they are happy, but don't have expectations.
Yeah, that's so true.
I always say, bring me solutions, not problems.
Yeah, we all know the problems. Like, cool. Now what next?
That's so true.
I always say, like, I've said this to so many teams. I'm like, like, if you see a problem and you come and ask me, like, tell me about the problem, I'll turn it back on you and say, what do you think we should do? Because you do this day to day. I don't. So I'm not the one to tell you how to solve this problem. You would know better. So why don't you tell me what the solution should be?
I like that spin on coaching. Yes, bring it on.
And it's also like what you said, Maria, is that I mean, don't feel pressure. Sometimes I see this in two ways. One is that you are in your comfort zone and you're scared to get out of it, or you're just happy with what you're doing, and maybe today is not the day that you decide to move. Maybe it will be in 2-3 years. But if you're actually doing what you're doing and you're liking it, you will do it well. And maybe in the future you can change. So I see it in those two ways. Don't feel pressure that after a year or after 2 years you have to move. I mean, it's a good career growth. You're gonna learn, you're gonna have challenges, this and there, but maybe it's not for you right now, or maybe you're waiting to develop some skills for some onboarding roles, enablement, or strategic renewals, digital customer success.
And just to say, I mean, every single team on this planet will always need extremely strong individual contributors. Like
Yeah.
if you have a CSM with 10 or 15 years of experience as a CSM, that is awesome. And they are, better now than they were before. They're still looking to grow and expand their knowledge, but you need those people. You want them on your team. Not everybody should always think about moving roles. It's really developing in your own role already.
And it's also about having a clear vision of the future. It's also about it, like you said, it's a mindset, and part of that mindset is to have a vision into the future. Where do I see myself in 1 year, or how many milestones do I want to reach first before I take the decision to actually start thinking about that? And I have here one question, or I think two in one question, which is, how important is having a clear vision of future roles in customer success? Like, what tips, Maria, would you give for someone who is just kind of thinking about moving roles, but that doesn't have a clear vision of them in the future? And also, second question for you, when is a good time to start thinking about this? Is it the first 6 months? Is it the first year? Is it the first 2 years?
Okay, where to start from now? I have an exercise. I do that when I do career coaching with CSMs. I start with a bit broader picture. Again, career is a personal thing. So I have that exercise that I ask to people, like, just think 10 years from now. Just think 10 years from now, what is it that you're doing? Like, how do you spend your time? Where are you? What is location? How do you feel? What are the fun things you're doing? So you just want to picture your life in general in 10 years. Surely there will be some pictures of your work or the type of work you're doing. So I'm joking sometimes, but if you want to work from the beach, like in 10 years time, perfect. Why not? Like, picture that. Picture if it's travel, if whatever is that you really want to have in your life by then, just picture it. Because if you can't even envision your life in 10 years, what you do every year, like, it's not going to get you there. So try with that bigger vision, 10 years. Then you can funnel it down. 3 years might be already too far in advance because no one knows what happens. But then 1 year, this is now where you can really be very tactical. What are the things that you have achieved in the next 12 months? Like, if you look 1 year from now, and that's something that can really bring you to what are you doing in your career now. So again, how are you spending time? What are the fun things you're doing? What are like 3 main achievements in your career that you do in this 1 year? And then you can see how, this 1 year where you can seriously do something about now, because it's quick, right? You can see how that impacts like your bigger vision. And if your bigger vision is firstly not even in customer success, not even in tech, but something completely else, it's fine. Then you will arrange your goals and your life in the next year and years to fit that bigger vision. So yeah, start big. I know it sounds maybe too vague, but just picture it, and then you will understand what are the things that you should do in this 1 year time. Now, if you're in customer success, it's difficult to picture, 10 years from now, but maybe you want to be a CCO. Now, CCO, or maybe some different name that will happen in the next 10 years. But if that's what you want to do, then you will know that in the next 12 months, you want to put for yourself goals that will help you get there. Meaning what? Trainings and skills. What is it that you can accomplish? Like, do you need additional, not only certification trainings, but, maybe 2-3 years programs training that you can think of. So from training to mentoring, find yourself a mentor or coach who can coach you on how to become better in what you're doing at the moment. if you have 10 years career goals, like every year you need to do something much bigger to set yourself for that bigger vision and success. So yes, as a CSM, again, it goes down to your vision and strengths and the interest, because especially now with the market and with the advancements of AI and everything else, you have no idea what happens in 10 years time or even in 5 years time. So you can just take those little steps now to definitely increase your business acumen, consultative skills, like commercial skills, recognizing opportunities. Those are skills that everybody will always need, like that will never go out of fashion. So double down on those. Ask for feedback. That's why I'm always saying having mentor or coach or somebody, some sounding board that you can always go and ask for feedback is extremely important. But yes, think about it, bigger picture, and then funnel down. I don't know if I answered both of your questions. There's just so many different moving parts to it. But yes, I always like to advise, start big, and then for 1 year time, you can really devise some goals for every month that you can do.
Yeah. It's just that, sorry now, but it's just that this is also, I mean, we're given tips here, but this type of questions is a lot of like what we said, like you said at the beginning, it's a mindset, and you have to start with that. And like in my case, when I want a goal, I first put a big goal or where I want to be, and then I break it down into what I have to do to slowly be there. So that's mine. Maybe people think different, but the idea is to always have a north and vision of your future, like you just broke it down. It's amazing. For me, something that helped me a lot is a book really famous called The Secret. And it talks a lot about the law of attraction. And I'm going to put that in the about section because it's really, really helpful. So I really recommend you if you haven't read it. And the community is always here. And I'm just breaking down in small words what you said, Maria. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was music to my ears because for the last 16 years, I've been, I have like a rolling 5-year plan. And I usually, like, every decision I make has to feed into that, into whether this is actually on track with that plan, or if it isn't, it's not worth doing, essentially. And a lot of times when I talk to people, I ask them, like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Like, what is your 5-year plan? 8 out of 10 times they like, oh, I haven't really thought about it. I'm like, well, now is an opportunity for you to start thinking about where you want to be in 5 years. And then when you make decisions, the career decisions or like, personal branding decisions and things, then you can decide on what actually feeds into that plan versus just doing, things for the sake of just doing it.
I just love how you said it. And I know it can be overwhelming and people may really not know what to expect in the next 5 years, but I don't expect them to know what will be their job title, right? It's not about that tangibles. It's more about the intentions and like, what is the type, at least, of roles you want to work. I know as a mother, firstly, 10 years ago, I still didn't know about customer success. So I couldn't have said that I will be in customer success.
Exactly.
And that's all the changes and advancements that we are having. Obviously, we can't know possibly in 10 years time, but I know if I have kids, like I know that I want to work in a way that I can see them after their school. I can help with homework. We can do fun stuff, things that will allow me to do any of those things. And that is nothing to do with the job title. We'll fix all of that to fit my big vision for me and my family, for example.
Yeah. If someone told me 16 years ago now, in 16 years, you're going to be head of customer success for a legal tech firm in Sydney, Australia, I'm like, yeah, crazy. Anyway, let's jump into our challenge number 2. Today's challenge number 2 is going to be adapting to change. So taking on, leadership responsibility and transitioning into operation roles and things like that, obviously, means quite a lot of, change to the way that they have to think, the way they have to operate, the way that they have to kind of, build their day-to-day. A CSM who's been, doing their CSM work 9 to 5 every single day and getting a new opportunity. Ideally, they kind of know what they're coming into, and they're ready for it, but there still is going to be quite a bit of change. And adapting to that change is probably a very crucial skill. And I guess, I wanted to pick your brain, Marija, on, so what are some of the strategies like, that CSMs should keep sort of keep in mind when they are moving into a new role and there's a different set of expectations for them and they need to sort of change into being able to operate in that environment?
So I would start again with mindset and behaviors, right? Because that's the fundamentals. I've seen times and times again when people just can't adapt to change because every single day they are talking about how it used to be, and that's not going to help anybody, especially not them. Firstly, CSM should understand you are in a position and in a profession where change is constantly going to happen, and it's just something you have to accept it. If you don't want to, it's fine. Maybe you look for something else, just because there is no chance that you will have 1 year of your profession even without any changes. So just try to be positive about it and try to look at positives around it, because they are going to happen no matter what. Then I would say, as a CSM, clearly ask for expectations for your role, especially when there are changes. Again, I have seen how companies put new changes in place, new strategies, without telling CSMs now all the new expectations. And sometimes they don't even know. They are just told to, implement something. And that can be difficult for CSMs because they learn how to do things in a certain way. And now from tomorrow, they need to change it. And if they are not clear on, new KPIs or new targets or new, maybe, I don't know, numbers of activities, whatever there is that they are targeted on or that they are measured, if they don't have it, it will be very difficult again to adapt to that change. And I'm saying that, like, CSMs ask always, especially if you're in doubt, just ask managers, okay, what do you expect me? How great looks like in the next 3 months? Because I know that sometimes companies won't even have the mechanisms to measure so many different types of activities or metrics at some point. So CSMs ask managers, if possible, in writing, let them tell you their expectations for you very clearly. And then feedback is always, the best friend that somebody can have, always. So from every one-to-one, just ask, how am I doing? Oh, can you listen to this call and tell me, how did I handle that renewal situation, or how did I handle this issue with product that we had? Like, can you provide really specific feedback? That's like the best learning that you can have, and that's how you can always find out whether you are on a good track or not. And then with change, there is always potential for upskilling or some new development. So feel free to speak with your manager as well. What is my current skill set? This is what I think I am, when you think about your skills and competencies, and ask, I think that, I should learn this and that as next. Like, do you have any recommendations? So be open to learn new things, because change is always going to be there. Keep positive mindset, because otherwise you're absolutely in a wrong position. And try to always get, what is good for me in this situation. Okay, I'm changing something, but I will gain, new exposure to new types of customers, or something new for my career. Changes are difficult. It's difficult to adapt, but don't have it. Yeah, but there's no option.
Yeah.
It's funny that when people say change is scary, I've always loved it.
Oh, me too.
I've always loved change. It just makes things exciting, it keeps things, moving forward.
That's me as well. Every time I had leadership announcing some changes, I'm like, yes, something new is happening. Yes,
exactly.
cool.
And I always get really excited, and I tell my team, excitedly, and they're like, oh, no, more change. I'm like, no, come on. Like, this is going to be so much fun.
But see, that's so important, because now what you're doing, you're saying, no, this is going to be fun, and you're their leader. And this is what I want to ask, because people, this challenge number 2 is the second challenge for a reason. From what we started, like, what are the roles out there, and then all of those tips is all breaking down to what we are talking now to, because you have to have all of that vision of your future and what roles are there, and all the tips given to actually make the adoption to change easier, because it's scary. But since the beginning, Maria, you have been always mentioning your leader. So to start wrapping up things, I want to know, let's focus a little bit into what role leadership plays in making this change easier for us. Because like Nav says, come on, people, it's going to be fun. That's a good way to start as a leader.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine a situation, well, layoffs, we had it many times. And then how do you reset after layoffs? Okay, maybe that's not the greatest example when everybody are feeling down, but it's one of the big changes, and there are big changes constantly.
Yeah.
Yes. Are we up for doing something new? Are we, are you setting the scene as this is now like the perfect team that is gonna take us to the next level? Or are you setting the scene as we are really at risk. We don't know whether we, put any value in, like who believes in us as a customer success team. We need to strive more and more and more and more to prove the value. Like this is just the way you communicate, and even with your tone of voice and your enthusiasm or worry will be reflecting on the team. So leaders have the responsibility of, again, finding those positives and double down on the positives. And I'm not saying like invent the positives, but there is always reason for something, and just look into the positives and focus on them. A very big part of it is in that communication, to communicate the value proposition also. What's in it for you? I mean, typical selling strategy, right? But even with CSMs, like you need to, as leader, say, what is it for you now in this situation? What can you gain? Your role is changing completely. What's great about it? And then you can list reasons, from new exposures, new career opportunities that you didn't have before, so many other things. Leaders have to communicate that value proposition. And then we always make fun with it, because we call it's doing change management for CSM, same what you expect CSMs to do for customers. But in the change management, that also means like create strategies. Think of communicating those changes and how you communicate and in which setting. Is it email? Is it Slack? Is it putting everybody on a call together, giving opportunities for voicing different opinions or worries, or just being heard? All of that really matters as well, the way how you communicate those changes, and then the way how you're creating strategies, because what is not good, and again, I've seen it many times, when the change just happens and then leaders say, here it is. So from Monday, we are doing this, and that, without, anything in between. And that's really bad. So be there for the team, but also devise a strategy and kind of present what will be implemented and when. Not everything needs to be done at the same time. Give some timelines. Week 1, we are doing that. Week 2, we are doing this. Week 3, we are expected to do this. So in 1 month, we can actually implement the new strategy. Provide some roadmap. Don't just dump the information on everybody. And I think what is really important for leaders is to understand that change could be scary for people, because they go out of comfort zone and they can feel the lack of confidence. And because if anything is changing, that means that not only people have to adopt, they are maybe not ready to start doing things in different way because they didn't have those skills or exposure. So create also a plan saying, I understand, maybe you need to, upskill these 3 things. This is the training that we are doing for it. So we will help you gain that confidence, because there's nothing worse than telling people what to do without equipping them in doing it. And that is the role of a leader. So provide strategy, provide a timeline, and tell them how they can become, again, that new CSM that they are expected to be. So what are the tools and resources that you are allowing them to have to really develop their confidence? Part of confidence always comes with exposure, with the work, yes, but you have to create some trainings that they can start feeling confident immediately in order to get more exposure. So yeah, change management, communication, training, upskilling, through coaching, through resources. There are different ways, but yeah, leaders should definitely think about all of it when they are introducing change. There's just so much to all of it, really.
I love
We
it.
can
I
talk for
know.
ages.
I know. And as much as we get into the topic, more ideas and questions and things come into my mind. It's just that's the thing. Like we sometimes we wish to talk for hours and hours about a topic, and we have to just try to tackle everything in once. I think it's time to start to end today's episode. We, as normally, what we always do is that we try to cover challenges, and then we bring experts to actually give all the tips possible based on their experience in real life scenarios. And maybe we tackle 2 challenges, and maybe there are 10 out there, but we did our best to at least give all the tools available for you out there listening to the podcast. And thank you so much for your support. Any last words, Maria, Naf, that you would like to give to that person who is about to, not, let's say, after hearing today's episode, now they're thinking about the future?
I'd say, if we're going to leave CSMers thinking about career progression with one thing, it's to take a moment once in a while to think about what you like and what you don't like about your job, and what you would want to be doing as part of that progression in like 3 to 5 years. And give yourself enough runway to be able to change direction. Like, you don't need to say I need to be doing a senior CSM if you're a CSM in 12 months, because that's really short-sighted. Like, you're essentially creating yourself a very narrow path that you can't really move out of. So give yourself enough leeway to be able to change course when you need to, but really once in a while stop and think about, what do I like and what do I not like about my role? I did that 16 years ago, and it's the happiest I've ever been since then.
Oh.
Mine is really similar. Yeah, think of what you really like doing, what you enjoy, but then have that big vision of like, what are your intentions for next 5 or even 10 years? Forget even job titles, just have that vision of how your career should look like, and what are you doing in those years? What are you accomplishing? What makes you really so excited to wake up in the morning? And then when you start with that big, you will come up to understand like all of those little parts that needs to happen for you to, be there and feel in that way. Job titles will just follow then.
Yeah, I would say that see yourself there, see yourself in that chair. And once you see yourself there and you think that it's actually what you want, start slow, be patient, because sometimes we are not patient with ourselves. Sometimes we have a lot of empathy and we're patient with other people, but not with ourselves. So go slow, see yourself there. And once you are there, start doing a research, go to talk to the person who is already in that role, who has been there, and hear their experience. Thank you so much for your time, Maria. Thank you so much, Nat, for being here always with me. You're my crime partner in this journey. And everyone out there, remember, keep growing, keep learning, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.